Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month.
Come along, I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want that. I would not want to get great this year at SPD. Boy, weird.
Yes. What a start. Who's all here? Cheers.
Crayfish will be here shortly.
Yep, he's a little late tonight.
And I will drag you down and sell you out.
Hey, Mind Runner. Hey, Brian.
Hey, guys.
Happy Friday. Oh, gosh.
He knows. Oh, no. Can't believe it's not there anymore, guys. What a crazy Dynamite, huh? Cheers. They're gone. Hey, Ian. We got some cool stuff going on with Judas. Can't wait to talk about that. It's great.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Friday Night Flights and Fights, another edition. For those of you regulars coming back, thank you guys for joining us every Friday. And cheers to everyone. Welcome new to join us here at the Dynamite Download team. We will have our third member, Crayfish, joining shortly. He's a little bit late to the party, so he's buying the next round, if you know what I mean. So if you don't show up on time, the next round's on you, Crayfish.
Yep.
And his sidekick, Mitch, for sure, is going to be joining afterwards. But, I mean, we are still kind of hey, Scoot, thanks for joining. We are absolutely still buzzing from that Dynamite. I mean, that Dynamite after Revolution really has changed the landscape of AEW now, with so many things coming out of Revolution and the following Dynamite. And we're going to dive right into it. And like we always do, our key word of the night is MJF. So anytime we say MJF, which that was 2, you take a sip and enjoy your beverage. So cheers to that. And so speaking of that person, the salt of the earth, as he likes to call himself, he made an absolute statement, to say the least. And he formed his inner inner circle, and no one saw this coming. No. We knew that, the inner circle war column. All right. Cheers to you, to Brian and Lori. Welcome. The Inner Circle War Council, we kind of had no idea what to expect. Inner Circle is notorious for putting on some awesome, like, unique promos and unique stuff just to get on TV.
Yeah.
The press conference, the dinner debonair, and, different things like that. But with this War Council, the keyword war, we kind of thought some war or, Wardlow stuff would happen, but boy, oh boy, were we wrong. And I mean, it did happen, but
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that ending, man? Whew.
Dude, it was pretty crazy. I can't believe that's what we got. We were all speculating for weeks about what was going to happen, because we all expected something to happen with MJF eventually. But what we got, I can't believe that they combined those two awesome stables and ideas together. We were excited about just the stuff with FTR and Sean Spears and Tully, and then to see that MJF and Wardlow are now involved in it. Oh my gosh. Yep.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Use the key word, the three letter word there. That is the key word for sure. It's gonna be
A hard episode not to talk about
for
him.
sure. I mean, it's gonna start strong with that. We're gonna be talking about that so much.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. I mean, I was literally speechless after this. I just couldn't believe what was going on. And as we were approaching, towards the end of the show, I honestly thought the TNT match was going to close out the show because I kind of figured, you have this big stipulation of a ladder match and Scorpio Sky taking the victory and being back from injury. He could steal victory and become the new champ. And then we did see him grow as a character, turning heel, which we'll talk about a little bit later about the new heels and faces. But man, when this was to close out the show, not often you get promos that close out a show. And rightfully so. I think it's better to close out with a match, but when you have a promo, it needs to be a blockbuster promo or something blockbuster like it was on Wednesday night. And
we knew something big was happening.
I cannot
wait on the show.
I cannot wait for what's in store. I mean, we were all texting back and forth. We're just salivating at the possible matchups. You got FTR versus the Proud and Powerful, which we are huge on, and just the fact that we're going to see the Inner Circle shift to face. In my opinion, I mean, that's just all signs pointing that way.
Yeah.
It's just a full resurgence of them. They were, cheers, Katie. Hi, Katie. Thanks for joining. They were absolutely the faction of AEW. And, other ones are starting to get some spotlight and they've been consistent, but now it's just going to be a complete to the moon feud, main event feud. When you have these two teams going head to head, whatever MJF is calling his faction, it's going to be outstanding. And I'm just, what are you looking forward to the most? And obviously, everyone out there watching, what did you guys think of that ultimate turn? How the Salt of the Earth had that, double turned Chris Jericho essentially. He was trying to turn his original Inner Circle on them, and then he said that he was building his own Inner Circle. And so what did you guys think out there? And Bonds, like, what are you most looking forward to for matchups?
I'm really looking forward to some of the verbal sparring that we're going to see from Jericho and MJF. We're going to have to give him one.
Oh gosh. All right.
Because those two are the best, like they're the best, and having them against each other. Well, they are, and having them together was awesome, but I think having them separate is going to be even better because we're going to see some of the great verbal spats in history. It's going to be awesome because MJF's already at Jericho's level, and Jericho is one of the best ever. So that just by itself is going to be great. And the matches, I mean, like you said, FTR versus Proud and Powerful, like that's going to be great. We're going to finally see Sammy and MJF, I'm sure. I say it again, sorry. That's going to happen.
Jeez. Finally, which we've been wanting to see that matchup for a long time.
Yeah, and now it makes sense. So now we have a potential for that.
And we're going to see probably it just was fitting because you could see the writing on the walls when they attacked the Inner Circle of who went to who. Obviously, the tag teams gravitated toward each other. Then you had the Perfect 10, as we can say, Sean Spears, the chairman, go towards Sammy. And then the big dogs, Hager and Wardlow, already went face to face, which I got to see live on January 6th. And Wardlow, which we're very high on, we think he is a star, and we picked him as one of our breakout stars of 2021. And this just lit a spark up his rear end, and he's going to be shot to the moon. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
I agree with you, Lori. I hate MJF so. Geez.
Even more now.
Even more now. I mean, as we said, a few shows ago when we saw. He was on our flight down to Jacksonville, and he did see us wearing our Dynamite download gear, and he wasn't sitting first class. So I'm calling you out right there. I'm calling you out there, Salt of the Earth, not even sitting first class. But then when he did see us in the crowd, he gave us the double finger and yelled "F you" right to our face, and then made some other obscene gesture when they went off camera because I was screaming at him as loud as I could because Crayfish lost his voice. So he lives and breathes that character more better than anyone. I'm all for that. And, with his, like you said, Mindrunner, we've had the master endorsement by himself right there, calling us the Drizzling Shits. And, we're wearing that with a badge of honor. Absolutely. For sure. But the stuff, if you haven't had a chance to listen to the Talk is Jericho with Chris Jericho and MJF, That is some of the best content I have absolutely ever heard. And both of those guys just bantering back and forth, just, feeding off each other's energy. They're, saying they could fart a promo better than Jungle Boy and how bad Orange Cassidy smells and all these things. They're praising each other. They're cutting each other down. And then it's just so good. And now they're going to work against each other. Wow. We are in store. Buckle up, put that racing seatbelt on, because you are going to be in for a killer ride for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely, no doubt. I mean, even the first time MJF was on Talk is Jericho, we talked about this before. Like he brought up Tully. It makes it's so cool because he said, "Oh man, Tully's one of my favorites of all time," and now he's the leader of the stable with him in there, and it's just so cool. Everything goes full circle. Sometimes it's long-term storytelling. It's great.
For sure. I mean, Crayfish harps on that all the time about the long-term storytelling. But, MJF posted, if you guys didn't see him on Twitter, of that photo of him and Shawn Spears with Wardlow in the back. Yep. They would bet on matches, early on in the pandemic when there was barely anyone in ringside in terms of wrestlers. Like, they were doing the bets with the money. And I thought that was really cool. And I forgot all about that, and that brings back memories to that. Yeah. So, we really hope that this inner circle and the salt of the earth savages, we'll call them, just to avoid using that word, the salt of the earth savages are going to, extend this feud for a long time coming, because the amount of 2-on-2s, 1-on-1s we're going to get, I'm excited for Sammy versus Shawn Spears. I'm excited for Sammy just to be back, period. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for Sammy and MJF ultimately to go head to head. But, MJF is going to shoot. I said it twice.
I'm going to get another refill already.
Jeez. So many people. And, Chris Jericho time and time again is just proving like he's leading by example. I've said this before, eventually he's going to have to take the Godfather role and like delegate his dirty work. But he took that huge bump, being the leader. He took that huge power bomb by Wardlow. He's been awesome in the ring consistently. He's been in the ring. We're not talking like dark or anything like that, more than anyone in the inner circle. And he's leading by example, and he's the oldest one, and he's in great shape. So props to him for just leading by example, and just a goat to the business. And I absolutely love it, man. Whew, man. And like you said, Minor, I agree, man. Spears is a star, and I think when he cut that promo where he was leaving AEW, we kind of did some bold predictions, booking by Bonds and going down the rabbit holes of possibly him doing some kind of Impact crossover and maybe reigniting a feud with Cody, which would have been awesome. But this guy is a true professional. He's a veteran, and the pairing with FTR when he 2 weeks ago re-debuted and surprised us all was we were out of our seat excited about that. And
who thought this would happen?
We thought, and who would have ever guessed that? I was thinking back in my head, I'm like, FTR was riding high on that awesome victory versus Jurassic Express. Like, they weren't on pay-per-view, which is fine because they had their huge match on Dynamite, and so did Jade, and then the Dynamite after the pay-per-view. I'm like, okay, I feel like they should do something, but I'm like, all right, whatever, it's fine. It's a stacked roster. Then boy, did they ever make a statement.
That was as big as anything that happened to pay-per-view, honestly. Like,
it was
crazy. It changed the whole landscape because now, Inner Circle was kind of the top faction in the company. And now there's definitely going to be a challenge there. And there's other factions as well that are great. So we're going to see some good stuff. I'm really excited about it because just outside of the Inner Circle feud, we're going to see stuff down the line. I'm sure this isn't going to be a one and done type of stable. There's too much star power, and there's going to be some other stuff that happens, and it's going to be really entertaining. This is a shoot to the moon kind of stable.
It's like shoot to Mars.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, how far can you go with this? I mean, it's unlimited potential. Speaking of, there was a lot of the pay-per-view revolution. I want to talk about that. I've talked about it time and time again. And how do you think they handled the flubs, I guess you can say, the pay-per-view? So in my eyes, everything is about perception. Mm-hmm. You can look at something like art. You look at that, and the way you perceive it or the way you interpret it is different than I would or someone else would. Yeah. And yes, there's with wrestling or sports, there's a clear winner or loser, but a story is being told in some form or another. And to me, like all the great matches and all the stories were overshadowed the sparklers, the Gilbert sparklers or anything like that than anything else. And so I don't care. Like Eddie made the ultimate sacrifice. He risked it all. And like I've said time and time again, if you're jumping on the grade or jumping on the grenade or jumping in front of the bullet, it's the act of doing it.
Doesn't matter if it goes off.
Right. So I think, I don't even care that I mean, yes, I guess you have to address it because there's so many critics out there and so many trolls. I still think the way they handled it was great. And
Perfect.
you know, what are some of the things you liked how they handled it?
I like how they brought Eddie back with John Moxley anyway. Yes, they kept it
drinking buddies.
Yeah, they I think they went with what they were going to do with that, because obviously after something like that, Eddie self-sacrifice kind of thing where they're going to be friends again. And I like that they kind of went with that, and then that was the first thing that talked about it. Those two guys. They let two of the best in the business on the mic explain the situation and explain what happened, and they could sell anything. You know what I mean? They could sell a used toilet brush at a car dealership. They're great. And
good point.
Yeah, they're great. And so it was the perfect storm of, okay, there was a mistake at the end of the pay-per-view, but they had the perfect opportunity to fix it, and I think they did that. And then the segment later in the show with Kenny was great. It was hilarious. They made fun of Eddie so well. Made fun of
so bad.
And Christian. It was great. And so it was, I think they did the best they could, and it was very entertaining. And if people are still mad about it after what they did,
oh please,
you can't be mad anymore. It was funny. They did a really good job addressing it, and they made it matter for what's going to happen in the future. So it works. It works.
Yeah, if you are still sour about the anti-ring explosion after what happened at Closeout Dynamite, you're not an AEW fan.
No
because just after, as soon as Matt Jackson and Ray Phoenix got in the ring, I was like, I don't even care. Like, this is wrestling and this is AEW and this is the quality of content that we're getting, the quality of matches and wrestlers we're getting. But you know, right away, you know, the first promo was Eddie and Moxley, and I loved how Moxley was joking around. I mean, Eddie made it real, and you know, I did see some stuff about, you know, mental health. Mental health is a real deal for sure. And so
they were able to sell it.
They sold it as a real thing, and you know, Eddie has consistently proven to us that like he gets his promos from real. I mean, any great promo from wrestling is based on loosely on your real life situations for sure. And so this was great. And then Moxley was saying how an Impact probably built an Impact, and so a low blow to Impact, which was awesome for sure.
That's great.
So no botch or none of that is going to take me away from how great of a pay-per-view Revolution was, and it showed. It had the biggest buy rate of any wrestling pay-per-view outside of WWE, and so I'm very happy for it. But you know, I think the Good Brothers are starting to rub off on Kenny Omega a little bit, just how filthy and dirty that they do. If you watch them on BTE, they are just literally repulsive. And you know, we try to preach positivity and see the silver lining and stuff. And I get they're playing their role, but I think the Good Brothers, it's not a place for them right now. And I can't wait for John Moxley and Eddie Kingston to really put the Good Brothers down next week. You know, put them in their place, make them not feel welcomed here in AEW, even though they are the Impact champions, have gold around their waist, make them not feel welcome, and just put an absolute whooping on them for sure. So I'm excited for that. You know, we got some really vulgar stuff out of Kenny Omega, and I think, you know, the star of that segment though was Don Callis for sure.
Oh yeah. Don
Callis was fire on the mic.
He's always fire on the mic.
He was, and he really just showed that extra level. And we saw so many things. That was my favorite segment of the night before the Inner Circle, and I'll gladly say MJF segment. But I was just like, yes, man, this is just great. You know, Eddie is so convincing, both vocally and, you know, non-vocally, you know, like his expressions and his body language, like he's a true professional. And then Moxley coming out, and then of course, Christian Cage. You know, so I know you are a huge Christian Cage fan. and even before his days in WWE. So what did you think of his debut, and then where do you think he's going with this?
Well, I was excited that it was Christian. We talked about it on the pre-show.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I sent him the video, and Christian was definitely. I thought it was gonna be him or Kurt, and I was happy that it was Christian. I think he's got a lot left to give in the ring. He hasn't wrestled in a long time.
Right.
He's cleared now, and he's ready to go, and he looks great. And I do think that he could have said some stuff at the pay-per-view. I would have liked it if he would have maybe said something. But I think the spectacle of him coming out was pretty awesome. It was just a really cool debut, especially after we got a younger guy with Ethan Page earlier in the show.
Yep.
So we have like an older guy who's a veteran who's been around for 20 years, who everybody knows, and then you have a guy that's from Impact who's been really good, and he's going to be a great heel on AEW. So
yep.
You have a young talent and older talent, and they both come in at the same time. And then Christian's clearly going to be in the main event picture. So that's awesome as well. He deserves it. He's a 35-time champion across multiple companies. 35 times.
Oh yeah, you did tweet that. You got to remember, like, he was Christian Cage before he was Christian in WWE. So
yeah.
Christian.
So good. The classic.
So I think this was a great debut, and I don't, no matter who it was, like, I'm not gonna, shit on someone,
No.
Sorry to be PG-13, I guess.
That's all right.
Obviously, when you say it's a huge announcement, everyone's thinking the biggest of the big. Obviously, we thought CM Punk or Brock Lesnar. The Rock's name was being thrown out. Kurt Angle throw that teaser video, which I still think Kurt Angle eventually will come to AEW.
Okay, Jim Ross.
Yeah, I know. All right, I'll cheers. It's too many of those, salt of the earth right there. But I think Kurt Angle would be an outstanding addition because, listen back to the Wardlow Unrestricted podcast interview, and he said he's trained with Kurt. And so I think he would be a great finish or a great fit, both in ring, face on television, ambassador, and as well as backstage. And so overall, but for Christian Cage to make his debut, we still haven't heard from him. Obviously he's done the podcast with Renee Young, but I'm waiting for him to say something and spit fire on the mic, because it clearly, he's a professional on the mic and he's outstanding on the mic too. He's done some great stuff. Him and Edge were outstanding together and as a single. So to throw him in the main event, not to steal Crayfish's thunder, but I agree with it. Like, to feud with Kenny Omega, then ultimately, like, he's still protected when he does lose to Kenny Omega, because we know Kenny is going to be the champ probably for all of 21, as deservedly he does. It's a perfect transition. A solid seasoned veteran who has a face, a name, a reputation, as well as a 35-time champ, to really establish, to push the collector himself even farther past the moon. So I know you got to be happy for it, and I hope we do. We could trade back some 3-on-3s. Mox, Kingston, Christian versus the Good Brothers and Kenny. You can throw, Cage against, tagging with someone. You could throw him, one-on-one with one of the Good Brothers, maybe, if they want to keep showing the Good Brothers on AEW television, which I don't think they should personally, but it's part of his posse, so it makes sense. Right. So when do you think he's gonna get in the ring and fight first? Do you think it's a long build, or do you think it's gonna be sooner than later?
Well, I will kind of just say, like, AEW does a good job of not showing everything. They don't give out their whole hand. You know what I mean? They don't show everything they got, and they don't show their cards. And I think it's important that they don't do that with Christian as well. They held off on Sting. Miro's had a long-term storyline before he's gotten really a big push too. So I think that maybe but they are throwing him with Kenny. So it's tough. Like, you have to have him wrestle if you're going to have him in that kind of feud. So I would hope sooner rather than later. He hasn't wrestled in a little while. He was in WWE, did the Royal Rumble, But other than that, get him in there, let him go, and show everybody, hey, he can still go. Everybody that's criticizing the move. I think that's the quickest way to shut up criticism is to have him go in the ring and look great, like he's always looked.
Right.
So
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, we have to keep pushing the gas down this, you all right? Too many salt of the earth there. I think for the way that I'm kind of surprised, but they're true professionals and diehard to the business. That Moxley and Omega are still like they're going to be fighting. They're going to keep going after that brutal main event. Exploding barbed wire death match. I feel like they should take a little time off, but at least from they could show face and do promos, but it was brutal, and the ladder match was brutal as well. So those guys were put it all on the line for sure, and it showed. I mean, as we said earlier, the pay-per-view numbers on it as well. But what I'm really intrigued about is, as any time, kind of since only 4 pay-per-views a year with AEW, they're all must see. Unfortunately, we get like, for those of wrestling fans out there with the WWE product. Nothing against them, we're strictly focused on AEW and positivity here, but you get a pay-per-view every month and it's not as special. This is always like the changing, chapters and books are closed, new books and new chapters are open. And so we had 9 different matches and so many things are in the sites we can see that are continuing, and some have closed and moved on. Like for example, FTR and Jurassic Express, that feud is done and over with.
Yep.
Before the pay-per-view, which is good. I think that it ran its course. It told a great story, and it was a perfect ending to it, especially putting Tully in the ring. The street fight with Team Taz and Sting. I still don't know. Well, with Archer coming out, I feel like this is the end of that feud, and Archer and Sting and Darby are going to kind of feud. Thank you, Amanda.
Comments are great. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Okay.
So of the new, or of the Revolution matches, plus of the new face and heel turns that we kind of saw, like, what do you think is most intriguing? And do you think some of those feuds are going to continue? Which ones are you most excited to continue, or which ones are you happy that are ending?
Well, in terms of like new face and heel changes, I think that Lance is an interesting one as well, because what happened with Lance, is he going to be going heel on Sting, or is he just going to be wrestling Sting? Does he just want a chance at Sting? Because he's been carrying the company as a big man in recent months, and he's been a great face. I'll disappear like Jack. That'd be great.
Where is he? Anyways, we can talk about that after, actually.
But yeah, he's been a great face, and I want to see what they're doing with Lance versus Sting. I think that'd be really interesting. Especially, you got a veteran like Lance against a guy like Sting, who's obviously the ultimate veteran. And I think that's probably a dream match for Lance as well. So they're probably going to have a really fun time with that feud. Other than that, I really thought the Scorpio Sky stuff with Darby was cool. I thought that was really interesting. It was a great match. By itself is a really, really great match. One of the best of the night. And I think that they have good chemistry in the ring as well. So if they continue that feud, that's something I really want to see, because they had really good chemistry. I thought that was a great performance, especially this is the first time we've seen them on television together, in at least in a long time. I don't know if they did before I was on here.
Right.
It's been, they're great. And, Scorpio obviously is coming back after a long hiatus. So seeing him turn heel.
Yeah, it was a fun moment. I mean, we saw so many. I mean, Scorpio essentially turned heel. He kind of hinted that on commentary the week before. Obviously, Inner Circle kind of going face, and then this new massive heel group forming of already accumulation of heels.
Those are huge.
For sure. Ethan Page, showing up as a new fresh heel. I'm happy that the Hangman Hardy feud is still going, because I think that's absolutely gold, and there's still a lot of gas in that tank for sure. I think that you can keep pushing that farther and farther, and it's only going to get better. I mean, we just saw Hardy recruit the Butcher and the Blade, 2 absolute beasts, man. And so the Taz Darby Sting feud, I hope they've closed that book and moved on. You have this ultimate culmination of with the Icon Sting in a hugely successful street fight match. I think you can just go on, close the book and move on from that. And then I don't know who would you pit Team Taz against next? Being a Team Taz fan yourself.
I have to think about that for a little bit because there's not really any stables that are not doing anything.
Yeah. Does anyone have any ideas? Who would, if you guys could book, booking by Bonds is a little stumped.
Yeah.
And that's just a question I'm throwing out of left field. Like, who would you book Team Taz to shift into next? Clearly they are, full of the powerhouse, absolute Ricky Starks, who I think is a complete star. I picked him as my breakout star of 2020-21. And Brian Cage, of course, Hook, we saw him throw some bows, and Team Taz on the pipe and the mic, man, he is just gold. But there you go, Mindrunner. He said Jurassic Express and Team Taz. I mean, you have quickly becoming the top babyface Jurassic Express, and then Team Taz. I think that's a good place for that for sure. I don't know. Okay, Lori, Dark Order versus Team Taz. I mean, Dark Order is filled with that. And, as soon as they're done with the Hardy feud, because Hardy is still on a mission to, put out of all of Dark Order, I don't know. Did you have any options other than Jurassic Express or possibly Dark Order?
I think those are great ideas. I do. I think that would be, especially Jurassic Express. You have, Luchasaurus, who's a big guy, and you could have kind of wrestle against Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs, and then you have everybody else. That'd be fun. And plus you could kind of tie it in with Taz has kind of got a superiority complex in a lot of ways, and you could kind of have a similar feud with FTR's had with Jurassic Express. It'd be a natural transition, especially if they're not planning on pushing Jungle Boy as a singles guy right now, which is possible. He's looked great, but I don't know if he's ready for that singles run. So if you have him continuing to be in a tag team and in a stable, especially one that's not doing anything with Team Taz, would be great.
Yeah, man, they are too good not to be used, in my opinion, on a main stage. They're full of star power. Taz, obviously, we can't praise him enough of just his way to hype up a match, the way to hype up a group, and I would love to see, I've said it before, like Ricky Starks as a the TNT champion, because I think his attitude and his promo work and stuff like that, he would just talk so much smack. And maybe, like you said, Boogie My Bonds a few weeks ago, maybe they start to put some girth and some stuff on that FTW title, start to do an open challenge to absolutely make it feel worthwhile. It's like he's carrying around this, like, it just, it's almost like wearing a fancy necklace. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I can't think of a good feud. Dark Order is going to be, I think, tied up with the, the Hardy Party and all that, or like there. So what about, who else? Who are the other big babyface factions that you can feud with them?
Happened with Cody again. They were kind of feuding with Cody for a bit, and the Nightmare Family. You could see some of that, and especially with QT going rogue a little bit. Maybe we'll see some infighting in the Nightmare Family, and you could have Taz take advantage of that as well. Maybe pull in QT Marshall,
or it shift gears like to. I mean, do you think the Young Bucks have kind of broken away from Kenny and, the Good Brothers kind of forming like as a little mini subgroup, or is there even still an elite, like a Team Taz versus the elite would be cool if you considered, I guess, I don't know, would Cody kind of rejoin that with the Young Bucks or something? I don't know where you go with that. It's very a tough turn for them. I think their backs against the wall right now, and, They must know something, obviously we don't know, but it's unfortunate because they're so great, and this feud with Sting and Darby has been so great for so long. And yes, we want it to end, but obviously we want something bigger and better, something
Yeah.
what's next for them. So
It's tough. We'll have to think about that and talk about it because it's especially if they're not on TV this week again. If they're not on TV, we're going to have to see something because that's a big loss for the team bonds because I love watching Team Taz.
for sure. I love, we all do love Team Taz. And, Ian, that's a good point about the Nightmare family because they always announce so many different people and like, oh, these people are joined in, essentially it's like them training at the Nightmare Academy, but
They can still do something cool with it.
yeah, you can always put some, Dustin Rose was always great. Clearly, I think a feud with QT Marshall or something is coming. QT Marshall. Yeah, what's up with QT Marshall, Lori? He walked out on Shotty Lee Johnson here and he jumped over the top rope.
Match a little bit.
Yeah, and so I don't know, that's going to be like another. I hate always saying like low card or mid card. It's no knock to anyone. It's just the placement essentially.
Yeah.
Like you can have a good mid card feud with QT against some of the members of the Nightmare family, and they could put on some good matches. Clearly, QT has shown some great in ring work. Like he just put down Fuego del Sol on Dark. He had the bunkhouse brawl match. And Dustin Rhodes is always fun to watch in the ring for sure. And the Nightmare family is stacked. I mean, we've talked about Nick Camarado, man, him being trained under Dustin and QT. And you got Shotty Lee Johnson and Aaron Solo and obviously Cody Rhodes and so many people that are in that Nightmare family or Nightmare Academy or you want to call it. So I just hope maybe, I think we need to hear from Team Taz. They're in this epic match. We need to hear from him this next coming Dynamite, and maybe we'll find the new direction for that. And in that note, I'm trying to find the TH2 dance break segment. It's not the same. I mean, we need Crayfish. We need Crayfish to. Dance. We need him to do the dance, and we need Mitch to show face.
Oh no! Yeah, we can hold it off till Crayfish gets here. He should be here anytime.
Why not run it twice?
That's fair. So funny. I don't have the moves like Cray. I do my best.
Gotta do your Jack Evans flip. You see that?
Where? Uh-oh. Look at you go. I'm on the carpet. It doesn't work so well down
I was trying to find a stock photo of a plant and just keep it in here as Crayfish and Mitch, but it wouldn't work. So, that is unfortunate. So we don't know where the heck Crayfish is. Maybe he fell asleep. He is a leader of the nap squad. So, but he does love Friday Night Flights and Fights for sure. So one thing I did want to talk about here, this is a good thing. I mean, next week's card, man, we've been preaching it here at Dynamite Download. We are finally getting the main event that we deserve here. We are getting Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, the main event of, the feud of the women's division in AEW period for years. I mean, we've seen some good feuds, but nothing like this has got the traction and the eyes on it with two absolute stars, right. Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker are going to lead this division to the moon. And with those two headlining it for the first time, I think it's going to be a testament to the division. I think just please somehow, Tony, just give the people what they want. Sign Thunder to a unlimited contract, a blank check. She deserves it all. But I know this is going to be a show stealing match. They put on nothing but a match of the year candidate for sure. Unsanctioned, anything goes brawl. It's going to get physical. Things are going to happen outside the ring. If you have Thunder's aggression and Britt's conniving nastiness and dirty playing, it's going to be one to watch. And I think we're finally not going to get the I talk about it all the time when we talk about the women's matches. They always put a picture-in-picture in a pivotal moment.
Right.
Stop
Always
putting a
have.
picture in picture in those matches. We see the opening match of Dynamite, just go straight through, for almost 20 minutes, which is great. But when you have like the top of the hour, the 9 o'clock match, and you throw the women's on, and then it's like 3 minutes into the match, you're like, oh, we're gonna do the world famous restaurant quality picture in picture. I'm like, okay, it's great because you can still see it, but it really sucks the energy out of it. And so, what do you expect out of this match, man?
Oh, I expect a lot of this match. They're going to be great. They always put on the show, so having this be the main event, they're going to give it 120%, and it's going to be just an awesome match. I can't wait because they, like I said, they always put on a show for everybody, and just the fact that they know how big of a moment having the main event is. We spoke with Thunder before, and we talked about how we want a women's main event, and we think it's important, and I think they know that 100 times more than we do, and they're going to just go out and put on a show, and I bet you they're way more excited than us.
And we're gonna I'm working on splicing a video of past shows, from back in 2020 and early 2021, where we were preaching how this feud should be the main event time and time again. So working on that, and we're going to post that sometime tomorrow as kind of like our hype video for the main event next week at the St. Patty's Day smash there. You got the Irish March 17th. Patio Furniture is going to be there live in attendance. So this match is going to deliver. I think it's just going to, I said it for Beach Break, the winner of this match should be the next AEW Women's Champion. These women don't need the belt in their feud, but they deserve the belt in their feud afterwards.
That should be in the title picture.
So we've talked about before. Like the waiting room segment with Britt, like imagine her as the champion, just spitting game for sure, just talking so much trash. And then just finally, like, just having like 4, 5, 6 matches where Reba just cheats to win. She's not just getting those clean wins and just pure heel nastiness where she's just taking out like, quality people, like even like Tay Conti and like Layla Hirsch, Serena D, like things, good wrestlers for sure, but just the cheat and the nastiness, it would work so well with her. And then get on the waiting room, like, as long as the champion. That was my biggest knock with Shida, was nothing about her ring ethic or ring work or anything like that. But it's just, there were so many weeks and weeks went by where we didn't even see her, even cutting a promo or being like just walking by backstage or lurking in the crowd or something. We just didn't get that out of her. And it was unfortunate about that part. So this is just going to elevate to the moon this feud. And who do you see coming out on top?
Man, it's tough. We saw Thunder really do well the last couple of weeks, and Britt's kind of gone after her at the end of matches and stuff. And I think that it would kind of be fitting to see Thunder go over on Britt, just because sometimes you need the face to go over. And Thunder's been a really great. She's been awesome the last couple of months, and just done right by the women's division, and so is Britt. But I think in this kind of situation, you have a chance to really define a top tier star, and it depends on what direction they want to go with it. But I just feel like that'd probably be the way they go. But again, I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. So
we're all wrong. We can all fantasy book all this for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously, me being the more Thunder versus Britt fan, Crayfish is the DMD resident fanboy.
Yep.
And it's hard because Britt has taken those victories, and Thunder hasn't had a clean victory over Britt. It would be a huge either one, whoever comes out on top, it's going to be a win-win. So you can't go wrong. I'm like, Britt coming out on top, like you're going to just keep pushing her to ultimately continue to be the face of the women's division, which she is, or you have Thunder to come out as this awesome underdog, not necessarily underdog, but like baby face, and just pure badass. And regardless, like I said, whoever comes out on top has to be next in line for the championship. And no one is stopping the momentum of either one of these, win or lose. So it's going to be extremely exciting. Wow. it can't come soon enough because it's gonna, whew, man. I think so. I'm gonna just say I think Thunder will win. And I know she's a busy, hardworking, the hardest working in the room. She's got NWA show coming up. She's got a Mission Pro Wrestling show coming up. She's obviously involved in AEW, man. It's all over the place.
Yeah, right.
It's incredible the stuff that's going on in her life. So props to her and cheers to the working woman right there. But the rest of the show, we have kind of yes and no out of nowhere, like Cody and Penta, like two of my favorite absolute wrestlers, in ring work. And I think that's a great pairing as well. And we're going to get it right away. And, for all those skepticals, including us, we thought Cody was hurt, after we saw that shoulder injury, we thought he was going to be off the shelf. And clearly he's not, because he was in the match with Shaq. He was in the ladder match. He had a quick squash match last week, and then he's in it again. So the past 4 TV / pay-per-view events, Cody has wrestled in the ring.
His shoulder must be all right. Yeah.
Yeah. That promo where he steps up from the announce table, Penta, and then he's like, I'm going to talk in my language. He's like, you're not going to be able to hold your daughter, man. That was the biggest low blow. So, I mean, it's interesting because you have the death triangle, quote unquote, Pac and Phoenix as potential faces. Then Penta is this like dirty heel against the top guy, top babyface Cody. So I think those two are going to do some awesome stuff in the ring. It's going to be similar to like Jackson and Phoenix, like the way those two, they're put on an incredible, this is awesome stand-up clapping type of match. So what do you expect out of this match, and who do you think is going to win?
That's tough. I think that, it'd be cool to see Penta go over. We haven't seen him on TV for a while. Just because, he's been injured. So seeing him go over, especially if this is going to be a continual feud, how Cody takes things personally. So if he has a feud where, Penta's talking about his child, I think that is something that could be a long-term feud for Cody as well. So I think that'd be interesting to have him go over and then maybe continue the feud a little bit, or maybe lead it into something else for Penta, just because, the Death Triangle's maybe the tag team champs, and having
I hope so.
Right, like they're next in line for the title belt. So I think that it's very big to maybe have him go over as well, make the group look even stronger, especially if they plan on giving them the belts. I think that'd be a really interesting move. And having them be a mix of like a heel and face team, it's the Death Triangle. You got the anti-hero with Pac, you've got the face with Phoenix, and you've got the heel with Penta, and you could have some really cool stuff with that.
So I think, that's a great point, and I would like the way that, I like to go down that booking train for sure. But I feel like, AEW being so stacked in tag teams, and they're built around the tag division, I feel like you could change the titles on the tag teams more frequently than other ones, like the World or the Women's, or even the TNT could be a more quicker change as well. So with the Women's and the World, it's a longer reigning works, but to have the tags flip-flop a little bit more, not too aggressive, every few months, or less than 6 months or something like that, just because it's so stacked. I think it makes it more entertaining for sure, and to help stretch out feuds longer, or stretch out new feuds and fresh faces for sure.
Definitely.
So I would love to see Phoenix and Pac win the gold, calling the Golden Triangle for sure, and move forward. And I think the way Cody is in AEW, he is so selfless, and you saw him in the ladder match take those huge bumps for pretty much everyone.
That was awesome.
And so Penta going over just to reestablish him. I mean, he's been off the shelf a little bit because of his injury, so it just makes sense. It won't hurt Cody. He's still gonna probably take a couple weeks off, do something, but I don't know where, like, he can feud and have a match with anyone. Clearly, I mean, there's no true feud with Cody where he's at, but you can throw him in against anybody and have a great match. I mean, him with MJF was the absolute pure gold feud. His Team Taz stuff was great. Oh shoot, he caught me. But yeah, I think it would be fun to have that Phoenix and Pac feature because they are so unbelievably
Right.
good in the ring. And for them to put on an open challenge, I mean, they could steal the show every single week if you put them in the ring with anybody. You know, you could throw them in the ring with Jurassic Express, Bear Country, Top Flight. You know, when the Acclaimed come back together, you know, so many different teams, the Varsity Blondes that, you know, just run through the roster and then eventually drop them to one of our favorites, Santana Ortiz, whenever that is. But this, I think, everyone in Inner Circle and everyone in the Salt of the Earth Savages are going to be tied up with each other for months and months and months, and that's going to be even more exciting than the tag team title picture for sure.
This is Mitch. Yeah, he'll be
Yeah,
Mitch.
it is Mitch. Mitch made did a time warp for sure because he was at Crayfish's house and now he's over at the Bonds residence. You know, it's Mother Nero's plan or Mother Bonds' plan.
Yeah, right. So there's a funny story with the Mother Nero thing. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was whenever Matt started doing the Brother Nero stuff and the broken Matt Hardy. And you know how Facebook Snapchat has the face cover thing? So
Yeah.
I did a recording of my mom and I put Jeff Hardy's face. So she had Jeff's face paint on her.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, "Are you Mother Nero?" And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking." She was super confused. She had no idea what I was talking about. And I sent it to Matt, and he shared it or liked it or retweeted.
Oh yeah,
it.
that's cool.
Yeah, it was funny. And I was like, "Oh, he maybe he'll remember one of these days." It was funny. And
Do you still have that video?
She embraced the role.
Do you still have the video?
I can find it. It might not be on this phone. It was a couple phones ago, but
If you can find it, maybe we should repost it. It'll be funny and rekindle that. But
I'll look
that
for
speaking of Brother Nero and Matt Hardy, man, that cameo Mind Runner was absolutely pure gold, man. It had me literally laughing out loud. And his little bit in BTE where he's eating the sour grapes, and then him just, you know, spitting the truth about what happened with Hangman on the cameo, man. Props to that, man. That was absolutely pure gold stuff. This guy is continuing to give us must-see stuff both on BTE and both on TV. So I can't wait for what's in store with him moving forward for sure.
Oh,
It's some great stuff. A lot of chatter about, you know, we talked about it, was it last week or the week before, about, you know, a trios belt versus cruiserweight belt. And because of such the depth of the teams in AEW, a trios belt I think would be outstanding. No better trio to have the first trios belt than the Death Triangle, in my opinion. They could just go on. You put the Young Bucks defending their tag team belt, the Death Triangle defending their tag team belt. You know, Kenny Omega is clearly a fighting champion. You know, Britt Baker, once she gets the championship, all those like fighting champions, like week in and week out, your company is going to sky through the roof. And then that's not even counting the Inner Circle, the Salt of the Earth Savage feud going on, and any other feud that we absolutely love. So, and Lance Archer, of course, we can't not talk about him. So
forget the Murder Hawk.
some great stuff for sure. And so, you know, we don't know when or if Crayfish is joining, but you know, I want to talk about the biggest thing that you've been working on, and that is your Booking by Bonds. You know, that's your signature name, Booking by Bonds, for a reason. You know, we talked about Miro, and I asked you, you know, like, what is a feud you want to see close and open and all that, and I feel like collectively we're all on the same page of wanting to see the Miro Kip Sabian best friends feud to be just done. You know, it's not necessarily our favorite. We're not getting as much as what we want to see out of Miro, but you know, I think the way he was booked recently, with that killer promo and starting the match backstage where you got, you know, Chuck Taylor all bloodied up. I thought it was great. We saw an intense him on Dark as well. The intensity from him is really unmatched in AEW. And if he can get the time and the spotlight, whew, man, the amount of pairings for this feud, or the amount of pairings with this guy is limitless. And I can't wait. So how would you, so this special edition Booking by Bonds. We we do. We need some Booking by Bonds merch. That's a great point. We are going to we're working on a merch store very soon, so stay
That'll be
tuned
fun,
for that.
boy.
So Booking by Bonds, Miro's Revenge. How would you book Miro going forward?
So
Let's hear it.
I don't think you can close out the current storyline the way it is, especially if they're going to have another match. I waited a little bit to write this because I was wondering what would happen at Revolution, if that would be the end of this feud, and it's not. We're going to see a match next week, and that's kind of where I start this. Next week, Miro they beat Orange Cassidy and they beat Charles Taylor, and him and Kip win that match, and so you have Charles now back with Miro, and that's kind of going to be big. But what happens is Orange Cassidy also destroys those video games during the match. He destroys them after the match. So Miro's very angry. You broke his stuff again. You didn't learn your lesson. And so, but now you have Charles with Miro, and he's going to go after Charles. He's going to treat Charles kind of like a dog for a little while. He's going to be representing him on dark matches. And every time Charles loses, Miro is going to go after him in the ring. Every match. So you're going to see Miro's brutality. You're going to see him dominate, but you're also building a potential sympathetic star here with Charles Taylor, because he's forced to wrestle in his tuxedo every week. He has to go off. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's going to be good stuff. He's got to wrestle in his tux. He's basically getting embarrassed on television, because even if he's doing well in the matches, Miro's going to interfere and force him to lose.
Right.
And he's almost breaking him. And so you break my stuff, I break your stuff is kind of what's going on. Because, he whooped Orange Cassidy. He's off TV, and Trent's already off TV. So now you have Charles kind of by himself, forced to deal with this. And this lasts for weeks on Dark. You see a lot of Charles like just getting smoked. And it's unfortunate because he's a guy that, he's a talented guy. So you're seeing him really get it bad. And Miro starts going after Orange Cassidy again in promos. Like, you wanted to play games, Orange? Too bad. Your games, you're broken. You can't wrestle me anymore, and I'm done. And Charles is mine, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he that goes on for months. And you eventually start seeing a turn where Charles is going more heel because he's trying to win. He's tired of getting beat up in the ring after every match. He starts doing more heelish stuff. He starts taking on Miro's moveset to a point. You're starting to see some good stuff. And every time he's getting whooped at the end of the match, you're seeing Kip and Penelope live streaming it on Miro's Twitch. Like, this is going out. This is a big deal.
That would be good.
Right, exactly. So you got
Cross
some cool
promo
stuff on there. And then eventually Miro is starting to kind of not go after him as much. And you're like, okay, what's going on? He's still losing, but he's not going after him as hard after the matches. He's getting bored with it, or he's breaking him. It's hard to tell. So 1 second, guys.
Flip the page.
There's a lot of stuff here. I took notes.
Yes, please do. I love it. Dive
So
deep.
eventually, he lets Charles pick up a win. He lets him pick up a win, and after the match, he celebrates with him. He lifts his hand up in the air, and he gives him, Charles hasn't smiled in months at this point. So now he's happy. He won a match. He's not getting beat up. And Kip and Penelope are like, man, what are you doing? We had the stream ready to go. What's going on? And Miro's just like, don't worry about it. It's fine. So they go back. And this goes on for a little bit, and Charles picks up a winning streak. And he starts winning these matches. And then eventually they start tag teaming a little bit. And you're like, okay, this is interesting. What's going on here? So Kip's getting, a little mad because he's like, hey, you're my partner. What's going on here? But Miro's, kind of working with Charles. And so what ends up happening is that Kip gets really mad and he's getting frustrated. And there's a big anniversary celebration for Miro's 1-year anniversary in AEW. And this is going to be in September, September 9th. This will be his 1-year anniversary.
Okay.
And so this is a big deal. They've been promoting this, and Kip forgets and doesn't get Miro a present.
Oh.
But Charles replaced all the video games that Orange Cassidy destroyed. So Miro's mad. He tells Charles, you go after Kip. It's over. So he turns on Kip Sabian because he's been working with Charles. Charles is his lackey. He can do what he wants. He's under contract. He has to do it. So while this is going on, you're starting to see a return of Trent and Orange Cassidy, and they kind of reform the Best Friends as the squad, as a 2-man squad.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see some matches with them, and they're doing well as a team, but they're also trying to get Charles back. When they're having these squash matches, they're like, hey, like they're coming out there during these matches, like, hey, come on, join us. Like, what's going on, dude? It doesn't matter. You don't need to be with Miro. It's fine. What's he going to do? He's one guy now. All this kind of stuff. And, Charles is doing his thing. He's doing his contract. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually they get a tag team opportunity to be a number 1 contender for the match.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to wrestle the Acclaimed because the Acclaimed are awesome. So we're going to see that happen. And during the match, we see some interference from Orange Cassidy and from Trent. They come in there and they interfere and they cost Charles and they cost Miro a chance at the titles. And Miro's done. He got pinned. He got rolled up pinned because they attacked Charles outside of the ring. They were like, dude, you can't keep beating people up after the matches. This is bad. They're the obvious good guys here. So Miro's going after Orange Cassidy because he runs away and Trent runs away and they're just, they get out of there, but he's destroying the ring. And Charles is following him the whole time, not destroying anything, looking serious. But this is like, you don't know what side he's on yet. He's kind of still, he's towing that line. And so then eventually, hey, these guys have a match because they're interfering with each other. They have to set something up. They're beating everybody up all week. Miro can't go crazy on television because that's what's going on.
Right.
Every week he's going crazy. And so what you have here is you have this big match, and Miro makes the stipulations because they made the last stipulations. So his is, okay, if we win, you guys can't team up anymore. If you win, I'm going to let Charles go. I'll let go of his contract. It's gone.
Interesting.
So the match starts up, and this is on the next Dynamite. And Miro is in the match almost the whole time, and he's ragdolling these guys. He's angry because they cost him a chance at a title, and he wants that gold. Like, he's tired of the games. He's been talking about this. He's tired of this stuff, and he's looking like a monster over the last couple of months. He deserves some sort of gold. And he tags Charles in. Charles lays down in the middle of the ring and lets himself get pinned. And Miro doesn't do anything. They let him stand up and they give him a hug, and he clotheslines both of them. And he's out of the contract, but he's still with Miro. And Miro goes, at the end of all of this, he says, "Now you'll never break my shit again."
Oh.
And he goes to the locker room. And he basically turned Charles against them through the months and months of breaking him down. And you make a really scary heel that isn't just a monster in the ring, but somebody that can mentally go after somebody like Charles Taylor, who's the best friends with Trent and Orange. And he turns him completely against them. And now you have a heel with Charles Taylor because it's gone. Like he turned on them. It's over. And so you really legitimize Miro in all these matches. And then you have Charles Taylor just drop the bomb on them. And that's just, wow, big. You have a huge tag team or something else.
Right.
Either way. I think that would be a really fun way to get them out of this feud. And then you also have a ton of potential matches. You can have a Kip Sabian feud with Charles or Miro because they betrayed him and they betrayed Penelope. So you have a big feud there potentially. You also have anything basically going on with Orange Cassidy and Charles or Miro and Trent as well. That's a lot of stuff. And I think that it would be a really cool way to get him in the title picture as well. So that was Miro's Revenge, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Wow. That was definitely well done, man. I mean, you're a huge Miro fan, obviously. And you guys, what do you think of that? And, I saw some comments and it made me thinking like, I was trying to do some Googling while we were talking, like how long Trent is going to be out. I can't find exactly stuff. I saw an article how, originally it can keep him out of action 4 to 5 months and, he's not going to need surgery. So if he announced it just around Christmas time, so that, they still need to milk this. So he's getting close. So maybe this arcade match, maybe they're kind of trying to delay it as much as possible to have kind of some payoff because you could buy more time. If Chuck Taylor turns into Charles Taylor and
It's so good. There's such a difference.
Trent is a game changer for sure. So
Yeah.
if you do have this one more match and best friends lose, which I think they should lose, and to really further, if you want, the only way to continue this feud that is entertaining is for them to lose and for them to Charles Taylor to come back and Miro for him to be his good boy essentially. So and then ultimately, Trent coming back, kind of trying to get Charles to think straight and save him from his trance. I don't know what you do with Orange Cassidy at this point. You do just kind of put him in a side feud.
Front seat in this, if we booked it this way, he would almost kind of take the back seat, which is fine. I think that you have, you already have a star there.
Yeah,
so you kind of build more here, and you let him be a piece of that. And again, we've seen Miro dominate on television against these guys, so
for sure
you can't really change that now. It's already built in there. So if you want to have this feud go, you kind of have to continue it that way, or else you're just going to have it continue forever where it's a back and forth 50-50 booking, and you can't make that work.
Yeah, and then Trent and Orange Cassidy ultimately try to save Charles Taylor from Miro, and then you give the people what they want, and then they get reunited and just reignite the top babyface team and that trios, and then they could win the trios championship down the line. You throw that back in because best friends, when there was live crowds and all that, they were probably the top babyface team to watch as a trios. And so you could immediately throw them into that contender, finish the feud with Miro. The best friends are back together.
Yeah.
Then you can also have them win the trios champion from whomever it may be, whether it be Death Triangle at the time, whether it be whatever, Hardy Party or, Dark Order or whatever it is. So that's some great stuff for sure.
Oh, thanks. That's just fun. That was a good one to write. I love writing for Miro, so that was a good one. I enjoyed
Dance
it.
break.
All right, dance, guys, dance along. Uh-oh. We got a couple of these now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Where'd it go? All right. There it is. I lost my backup brewski on that one. Oh, it's all foamy. Cheers, everyone. All right. So I got a text from Crayfish. He's running a little late. It's his wife's birthday, so they went out to eat. So I'm trying to see if he'll chime in on his make a little cameo, but I haven't heard back from him. But we have to talk about another thing, which was another debut in AEW. We talked about Christian Cage. So and now we're adding another page. So we got two pages, the Cage and Page. So I'm first to admit, I don't know much about Ethan Page, All Ego Ethan Page. And so in the ladder match, so I wasn't like popping for him huge. But I like the way he showed out. I watched his vlog, and just to kind of get a vibe for his attitude and his style and stuff. So I'm starting to like him. But when he cut that promo, even though we did have some technical difficulties for that, we should have Cage, Page, and Page and Cage and a steel cage. Wow, I think I got that. I think I said that right. Yeah. So what do you know about Ethan Page? What did you think of Ethan Page's debut? How do you think he's going to fit here in AEW?
Well, he was Impact champ, tag champ at one point. top tier guy, big free agent. People like him a lot. And I think it's really good to get another heel in there, another cocky heel. I like that kind of character. I think it's fun. As you guys know, my favorite wrestler is Edge of all time. So
Yeah.
I like when you get those kind of fun heels in there that are just able to get in your head and just go after it. And he's really good in the ring. I think we saw in his 2 matches so far that he's just a talented guy. You know, Shoddy Lee Johnson is a great competitor, and he kind of does a quick match, especially for a guy debuting on TV. And obviously, we didn't get to hear it, unfortunately, but he's just a really, really talented guy. He's only 31 years old as well. So you get a young talent in there who's got 10, 15 more years in the business if he wants it. And that's a big get, because I know that I'm very active on social, looking at pages and stuff. And a lot of people thought he was going to WWE. So
Wow.
this is a
Okay.
really big get.
Yeah, I'm all for it, and I know I saw like a photo of him and Cody were tag teams, and I did like his finish, and I think the pairing with Lee Johnson last week was well, even though we did get the TNT kind of self high five. It was a great pairing, and unfortunate with the sound issues. I think we should continue with any debut. I'm all for Christian Cage and Ethan Page continuing to ride the wave. You know, don't put them off TV. You know, don't put them off TV just yet. And so I'm excited where they go from that. With that being said, you know, the shift in heel, like we talked about earlier, the shift in heels and faces. You know, now we see Eddie Kingston going to face, essentially. Butcher and Blade switching somewhere else. Inner Circle going to face. Ethan Page adding a new heel. QT Marshall potentially going heel. I'm trying to think of any other changes.
Christian's a face, probably.
Christian's a face. So yeah, like mid-carders, like I think maybe him and Jungle Boy could be put on some good match. Maybe you pair him with Orange Cassidy eventually as well. Like you could see some great stuff like that. I don't know where else you go with it, but I know it'll be a good placement for that for sure.
I would definitely like to see him in that TNT area range picture.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe not initially, get him a couple feuds in.
Right.
I think that's a good spot for him, especially right now. That could
That's a good
see
point.
the guy that's established to a point and people know who he is, and that's a way to legitimize him in AEW, is give him the top mid card belt you can. Obviously, no belt's a mid card belt, but it's that's the step below the AEW championship. So
For
if
sure.
you could maybe put that on him, that's a good way to even showcase him as well. If you like his promos enough and you like his in-ring and stuff enough, which they hired him to and had him debut in that big ladder match for a reason. They like him, and so you don't do that unless you think that's a talented guy, in my opinion.
True, I agree. And it wouldn't be an episode of Dynamite Download or Friday Night Flights and Fights if we didn't talk about one of our personal favorites, Lance Archer. And it just got me thinking of the ladder match and what an awesome outing he had in that ladder match, and just pure power. I loved the massive 20-foot high choke slams that he was throwing, the suplex to Cody off the ladder and things like that. So he looked pure dominance for sure on that. But we kind of touched about it briefly, but where I think he's going, after interrupting the Icon Sting, I think this is a great quick transition to have Sting and Darby, or I think it ultimately still Sting and Darby are paired together, segue away from Team Taz, and then Team Taz go wherever we can figure out, and then ultimately Archer taking the TNT championship, which he was in the tournament for it originally, and lost to Cody in the finals. So you almost forget about that, because it is you forget about that he was in the tournament because of how dominant he has been lately in terms of like main event scene and matches he's been put on. And I predict, he was my choice in the tournament, when they first did it, to win over Cody, but it works so well with Cody with his open challenge and all those things like that. Right. And, but now I think it makes sense for him to take what his was originally and dethrone Darby. And I think that would be a great person to dethrone Darby moving forward right now. And it's one of those, like we've said, goes both ways. Like is he's right now he's coming out of the babyface tunnel. He's really feeding that babyface wave, but also it's like me against the world, the lone wolf, everybody dies. And so I think that would be a good way to book him right now. Even though it felt like he was almost in line next for a title shot with Kenny Omega, just the way things were going with his matches and those multi-man matches, the falls count anywhere matches and things like that, where it took 4 guys to put him down ultimately for the pin, but he still looked strong. Was my top performer of the night.
Right.
So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Get him into that TNT picture. Because that's again, there's only one champion, and he's involved in a lot of stuff. So when you have one champion, he's involved in a lot of storylines right now with a lot of different people. Obviously, now Christian's involved in the main event picture.
True.
So if you're wanting to push Lance, I think that the TNT belt's a natural spot for him. Because he can dominate with that belt as well. He can go be the man and dominate and just be as impactful on television as Kenny is, in my opinion, because he has great matches every week, and so then you have that become more of a fighting champion's belt, which I think that's been a criticism we've had since Darby's won the belts, that he hasn't really showcased it very much in matches. So if Lance is able to, Lance has been on TV and wrestled almost every week for the last couple of months. And if he's got the belt, you can really showcase that title again like Cody did. And I think that the TNT championship is stronger when it's on television every week. I think it's just as impactful because, again, the match that they just had, the street fight, wasn't a title match, and it was a great match, and it was really entertaining. So I think that Darby doesn't necessarily need the strap, and you can have him kind of going after it again, especially if Lance has it, because that's the exact opposite in terms of physical ability and talent. In like talents in the ring, like Darby's fast and is comeback monster, but Lance is just will bury you. And I think it could be a really interesting feud, and the matches would be great.
I love an open challenge / fighting champion. And, I think that the belt, typically, historically, like a world heavyweight champion it's a main event draw. It's a big show draw. And so like your intercontinental, your European champion, your tag champs, those are more of like the fighting ones. So the TNT one, I think Darby tweeted that he's only successfully defended it 3 times. And, I think Cody went like, I want to say like 10 weeks in a row he went in, and I loved it. And that's where we saw Eddie Kingston. That's where we saw Matt Sydal was in the Rumble, Ricky Starks, all these people like debuted. So I think you can really reestablish singles competitors against Lance Archer as he lines them up and puts them down for sure. So
there's no it doesn't really hurt you losing to Lance. He's been in the main event picture.
It does not hurt. And I think to have him do you don't have to say open challenge, but just like, defending it every week. He's going to make it a fighting belt as he deserves. So that is a good segue for him to push the belt, push him and put him on TV every single week as he deserves, because he's riding that wave high. So you run this feud out for a few weeks or month, and then ultimately I think he should dethrone Darby. I mean, it makes sense. He could, if Sting is willing to fight him. I don't think that's a battle that Sting should have to do. But
interesting match.
If he does feud with that and Darby tries to stick up for Sting and kind of take the bullet for him, and then he ultimately just puts him down for sure. So that's a good man. If do you think Sting and Archer would actually fight, or do you think it's going to be more promo battle? And do you think like Darby will kind of come to his aid?
That's a tough one. I would love to see that, just because you get 2 veterans in there. That'd be really cool to watch. Obviously we've seen Lance in a lot of different promotions for a long time, and Sting is Sting. And plus, that's a way to build Lance potentially as well, because Sting came in and won his first match.
Right.
in AEW. He didn't lose. He doesn't have to go 1-1 now. He's already 1-0. So
True.
if you have Lance go over on Sting, if you do that, that's not nearly as impactful to Sting having a loss. And it gives Lance this crazy win against the Icon. So I think that either way, you're kind of setting yourself up for something really good there. And then you could have maybe Darby go after Lance after he beats up Sting, depending on how that happens. So
Right.
you can have two great matches instead of one. Either way.
That's a very, very, very valid point. And before we close on a couple more questions, I want to ask you. We're going to take a very short refill intermission, and we're going to play one of our favorite songs, Lance Archer's. Hang tight. Be right back.
I'll be right back, guys. Good question, Mindrunner. I don't know. That'd be a tough one. You got to keep it on him for a while, especially after he's been so dominant in the main event scene. Everybody drinks. What's your favorite, Brian? I'm partial to Judas myself. The Thunder's music is crazy. Oh man, he's gonna pump you up every time.
All right. I found this on the way for the refill, so
Nice. You got to wear that the rest of the show for sure.
that's my St. Patrick's Day hat right here. So
Are you gonna wear it all week on Wednesday?
I am for the Dynamite Download St. Patrick's Day special show. Speaking of that,
Yeah.
I want to ask you about Darby Allin. Do you think he's better with the belt, or do you think he needs the belt, or do you think he can still be as relevant without the belt?
It's a good question. I think with being paired with Sting is nice just because when you're with Sting, you're always legitimized. And so if he did lose the belt right now, I don't think it would kill him or anything. And he's so popular.
Right.
I don't know if you guys spoke on this, but he shot like 80% of the street fight.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. And he's got such a creative mind. I don't know if a guy that's that creative needs the belt. I think he can survive without it because he's going to be able to build storylines. He built the whole Matt storyline, and that was so great. All of that was great. And what do you think?
As of right now, I think like he needs the belt.
Yeah.
For him to be like, I mean, he's so unique and one off. There's no one like him. You know, there are some kind of wrestlers that kind of blend together in a way, not in a bad way, like no shot against them. But I think like, okay, let me step back. Like, because he's so unique, he can have these one-off weird matches and like these feuds and be a draw without the belt. Right. So I think putting the belt on someone like Archer would just elevate him even more and put more eyes on him. Where Darby, where he's like this underdog, like small guy, tattoos, face paint.
Yeah,
like obviously Thunder Rosa does that as well. And to have him feud with people, it is a more of a marquee match, just because of his relentlessness and his resilience and his underdogness. Everyone loves an underdog. So
There's always potential upset with him as well, which
for
is
sure, everyone loves an underdog. And so with Archer with the belt, I think it's just, you put more prestige on the belt with the Murder Hawk monster holding it. So I think it would work better with someone like him. I think it would work better, obviously, with someone like Ricky Starks, with someone with the attitude and the smack, the shit talking and all that. So
it'd be great.
I would like to see Darby drop the belt sooner than later to Archer. If it's not Archer, then it's Starks. If it's not Starks, I don't know who. Those two seem to be, but it'd be hard to do Starks at the moment because I think the Team Taz feud is over.
Right.
You don't want to just keep doing the long drag like we've seen with the Miro and the Best Friends.
And then if you have Ricky win that, then you're going to have that feud continue even longer.
True.
So it would just continue to build to that rematch eventually as well. So if we want that to be over, and we think it is probably, I don't think that fits right now. Obviously, Ricky's a guy that should be a champion at some point because he's great. He's gold in the ring and he's great on the mic.
Right.
That's an obvious next step for him. But I think Lance is next in line for sure. I think that makes a lot of sense.
It makes so much sense for sure, and we're hoping for it because he'll definitely put that TNT title back on the map even stronger than Cody and Darby did, in my opinion, because he's on a warpath. I mean, you could have so many great feuds, I mean, I would love to see him in the ring with Penta. Like, who would you want to see? And you guys out there, send in your comments, like, who do you want to see Lance Archer in the ring with that he hasn't already been in the ring with? I mean, him and Ray Phoenix put on a match of the year contest. So before we do that, I got a little special thing I want to do. So it is, I want to do a little entrance. There he is, Absolute Crayfish with his entrance.
Look at you.
What's up,
Crayfish.
y'all?
What's up, Crayfish?
What's going on, fellas? I'm catching the very end of the show. I got Mitch Jr. over here coming in. Apologies for being late, and I'm missing the whole show. This is my favorite show of the whole week, too, guys. I'm sorry for it.
You look great, man. Dapper Dan. Wow, you do look like Absolute Crayfish.
You know it.
You called me Powerhouse SPD, Absolute Crayfish, the Icon Bonds.
I like it. I like it. I'm sure I missed an incredible show tonight, guys.
We had a lot of fun.
I'm sure. I cannot wait to see the show. I'm going to be one of many, many, many people out there who are going to be watching Friday Night Fights and Flights. I can't wait to hear all you guys talked about. Give me the highlight of the show in your opinion, SPD.
Oh man, the booking by Bonds Miro edition was absolutely great stuff. We talked obviously about the women's main event, of course. How high we're on for that. We can't wait for that. We made our picks, man. If you want to make your pick, how would you? Before we did, I'll tell you what we talked about. Obviously,
man, I miss you guys. Can I just tell you, I miss you guys so much. My goodness.
We talked about Christian Cage. We talked, I don't know if you have a beverage next to you, but our keyword was MJF of the night. So
I don't. I had plenty of beverages tonight for my wife's birthday. I had
plenty.
Runner.
Oh gosh,
plenty. And my goodness, if I was able to be part of the show, I think I would have been hammered with you guys because MJF is.
Oh gosh,
I picked him. I picked him as my top performer, and I know I got a lot of heat for that. Thank you.
This was from earlier. This was from earlier.
Love. My wife had a beautiful birthday. Great woman. She puts up with me. I gotta say, SPD. If I'm picking the winner of that Thunder Rosa Britt Baker match, I don't know where you guys fell, but your boy Crayfish is a diehard DMD fan. There's no doubt that I'm on board with Britt Baker. That's my girl right there. I think that Britt has grown so much, and I was so proud to see that she got that Most Improved Wrestler of the Year award. I just think that she's a master, brother. I've
Mhm.
you know me, and I'm jumping in late, but you guys know me, Bonds. You know, I had the Sasha Banks glasses,
You
the
did.
T-shirt. I was diehard Sasha Banks back when she used to wrestle in old churches and bingo halls. I know talent when I see it. Britt Baker, she commands your attention. I think that she's absolutely. I could not imagine AEW without Britt Baker, and that's one of the things that I have to say. There are very few people in this company where you say cannot imagine, what this company would look like if Kenny Omega wasn't here or Cody. Well, Britt Baker is in that same conversation every bit as much as the Young Bucks, Cody, all those guys, and she's not a VP, although she deserves to be, I suppose, because she's absolutely a star in this company. Can't wait to see next week's show.
Man, we said it's a win-win. We said it was a win-win regardless because whoever's gonna, both.
We love them all. That's
It's
the thing.
going to elevate the division. It's going to elevate each other. It's going to set the standard for the main events moving forward, both men and women. But also, it's just going to show whoever comes out of this. We said it months ago is the next champ. Period. Whoever wins this match should be rightfully crowned. They should just strip the title from Sheeta. Be like,
Man, do I miss you guys.
deserve it.
God, I
deserve
wish I
it.
was here tonight with you guys because there's so much that I could just go on and on about. I probably, I don't know how the chat room seems hot tonight. Very excited to see that there were a lot of great folks involved in tonight's show.
I almost choked to death during the show. You missed that. That was
Oh,
great.
Bonds, I got to
You
get
missed my
back into
hat.
it. Beautiful hat. My goodness, guys. Oh, man, is this the best show on YouTube right now? Hey, Bondsy, did you reveal your booking by Bonds? Did I miss that?
You did, but it's all right.
Oh,
You'll see it.
I'm
You got
heartbroken.
to rewatch it, and then you'll we'll
You'll
post
see the
it all on
end.
Twitter.
Crayfish already read about half of it.
I can't
Oh.
wait. I cannot wait to hear you explain that because when I was reading the message you sent me, I'm like, man, there are a few things that I love more than hearing Bonds geek out about some of his favorites, man. It just makes me happy. And I know that Miro's one of your guys, and I think AEW would do right just to listen to Booking by Bonds. The Dynamite Download team is here to help AEW survive, help them thrive, baby. We love this company. We want to see great things, and I think that we're going to continue to be fanboys of that company. People can make fun of us all they want. We love what we love, baby, and we love AEW, don't we?
Oh, it's great stuff every week.
That's true. I mean, we're gonna push and troll this to Miro as much as possible because ultimately this was going to be it kind of went down a little rabbit hole at the end. Trent kind of being the savior, bringing Charles Taylor back into it, and the best friends reuniting and reigniting them being the biggest babyface trio in the company, and then winning the trios champion because down the line we will see the trios champion. So I don't know how far out we are of a trios champion, but I feel like AEW is doing a good job, and I don't think you can add that other championship just yet because of the limited TV time. I'm anxious to see how Elevation goes in terms of that, but already looking at the Elevation card, I mean, we're seeing some like Dynamite worthy matches, pay-per-view worthy feuds almost. So we're getting like legit stuff. Nothing against Dark. I love watching Dark because of the talent, but the majority of Dark is squash matches. It's establishing your already built stars. And now you're seeing things like, Jungle Boy versus Danny Limelight. Man, that match I think is going to blow everyone out of blow everyone's mind.
I made it. Yeah, I
see the main event, Rio with Maki Ito. Thank you, Mindrunner, and the card is crazy, and it is free on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like AEW is doing so much right now. I mean, guys, it's awesome to join you guys where you're clearly riding high from an awesome Friday night fights and flights like always. SPD's got the burps from the beers. He's had a good time tonight. No, I think that it's cool to see how much content we as fans are getting right now, and it's quality content. It's pretty awesome. I think AEW is really growing in a positive way, and it's because of fans like who we get to interact with. We're so blessed here at Dynamite Download. We have so many positive, incredible people that we've met along the way that call themselves AEW lifers. And I think that there's a passion around this company that I haven't seen. And I like being a part of it, even though we make no profit here, even though we're just small fish in the big pond. It's so great because we've got to be a part of something that we feel is positive, that's puts out great stuff every single week. I don't know. I got to jump in. I know that you guys have had a whole show.
And you're
SPD, SPD, give me guys. You mentioned it. You asked me who my pick was. You know I love me the DMD. And I love Thunder. I think I'm so torn. Give me your bullet points over next week's show. I mean, we talked a little bit about booking by Bonds. You guys gave me a little. I know about that. Bonds ran it by me earlier in the day. Beautiful segment, but Bonds, you are clearly our head booker for a reason. And then for me, you know, we've been pushing nonstop. I personally, you and I made that Sean Spears graphic together. I was very proud. Usually SPD makes all the graphics for Dynamite Download. I made, with your help, I put that collage together for Sean Spears. I thought that was a beautiful little tribute to him. Tell me about like what you guys are buzzing most about heading into next week's show, because it's a huge show.
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, obviously, it's going to be from top to bottom. Like there's 3 matches that could clearly have main event the show, but the one that this main event deserves it more than anything, you know. So, I mean, that main event aside,
yes, of course. And who did you pick? Did you pick Thunder? Of course you did. You're a Thunder mark. What about you, Bonds? You're the most middle. Huh? Yeah.
Thunder as well.
Oh, thank God Crayfish came here to save the day. Kind of balance it out a little bit. I'll be more loud than you guys, and I'll cheer her on more. Anyway, so you guys are
not if it's Dynamite with you losing your voice.
Yeah, I know. That was awful. So so you guys thinking about that? Are you guys as geeked for the Cody versus Penta match as I am?
We did talk about that. We definitely touched base on that. We thought this is going to be an outstanding blend of stuff, and it was cool, like Swerve feud and his whole promo with all that. But also, you know, we know collectively we're not the best and the biggest Good Brothers fans, so we really want Mox and Eddie to put them in their place and make them not feel welcome here at AW and show us what we can see out of Eddie as this baby face, you know. So
I think the Dynamite Download, the whole team is on board with John Moxley and Eddie Kingston trying to drive the Good Brothers out. Anything to get them out of BTE, I'm all for it. So, anything. Anyway, the last thing, I know that you guys have had a full show. I don't want to drag this out too much longer. But the thing that I really needed to hear, I was really geeked to talk about, was that women's Mount Rushmore. I want to guess what your guys' picks were.
We didn't pick. We were saving it for you. So I guess if you want to. Give the people what they want, or if we want to take it on until next week.
Well, it depends. It feels like the chat's still buzzing. I'm still buzzing. Are you guys still buzzing?
I'm still buzzing.
Then let's do it, baby. Why
mine
not?
Isn't, you know, I haven't gave it that much thought. So if you guys want to if you're going to lead the charge.
Wait a second. We talked about this all week. You haven't given this that much thought.
All right, you guys go first. I'll go last.
Well, I know Bonds has his in concrete, in granite, in marble, in stone, in quartz, whatever you need to put it in. Bonds has it chiseled out. I can name you for sure the one that I know, Bonds, without any further ado.
Here we go.
You have been a hardcore. Go ahead, my friend.
Mickey James fan forever.
Yes, that's been Mickey James without a doubt. Get into your Mount Rushmore. Run off your top
we're talking
five.
Mount Rushmore, period, not AEW specific. Kind of
Mount Rushmore for women's wrestling. And I have a feeling that some of these AEW superstars, even though this is such a young company, and even though the women's division gets so much criticism, I have a feeling that we will be hearing some women from AEW on this list.
I know it's off the limb here, but everyone in the chat, put your if you have your top 4 Mount Rushmore women in there as well to cross compare some of ours.
Top 4, baby.
I'm going last.
All right, Bonzi, you go up.
So this one's obviously I said Mickey James. You know, she's a 5-time champion. She's been great. I love her feud with Trish back in the day, where she was the crazy fangirl of Trish Stratus.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was so cool. All that stuff back in the day is great, and she's still wrestling. she's in her 40s now and she's still out there wrestling, and and she's great, and she's still good in the ring, and she still can talk, and she's always been a top tier talent. So that's another one. And the other ones that I mentioned is Trish Stratus. I
Yep.
think it's hard to have a Mount Rushmore without Trish Stratus.
With our age group, absolutely.
Right. And she's, the winningest champion in WWE history for women's championships. She's got the most, and she's a hardcore champ as well. So that's just really cool. And she's done it all. Again, she's still relevant. People know who she is. And again, in my age group, I grew up a fan of Edge, and I also grew up a fan of Lita. Lita's on my Mount Rushmore as well. She's a champion in her own right. Her stuff with the Hardys back in the day, she was great. She could hold up with anybody else in the ring. She was such a great high flyer, could do anything in the ring. She was awesome. And she's a Hall of Famer as well. Was inducted 7 years ago now, which seems crazy. It feels like it was yesterday. And when she does come out and go in the ring or go on commentary, she's always really entertaining. And it's somebody who I've really always respected in the ring. And, she had to deal with a lot of crap outside of, from the fans as well during the Matt Hardy stuff. And so I think she took that in stride, and that was one of the most interesting feuds in a long time in WWE, because it was a real feud. The stuff with Edge and Matt, it was just really cool and really interesting. And she took that one on the head, and it was great. And my last one is a current AEW wrestler. Well, she's not technically signed yet, but it's Thunder Rosa.
Man, you guys love yourself some Thunder, huh?
Oh man, well, she's a eight-time champ across multiple companies. She's been around for a while, and she's done MMA as well.
This one
with Mission Pro is so cool as well. So, and if we were doing a top 5, China would be my 5th as well.
Well, we're doing our in the honor of the Horsemen. We're gonna do our
exactly.
top 4.
That was close. It was really close between China and Thunder, but Thunder edged her out.
So recap real quick, Bonds. You got Mickey James, who we know you a diehard fan of. Trish Stratus,
Lita, and Thunder Rosa.
That's a great list, my friend.
Awesome, man. You want to go up crayfish and let us?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, my list would not. The woman who kind of got me to respect women's wrestling a lot more, and who I really realized I became a fan of a diehard fan of in women's wrestling, Sasha Banks. Thank you, Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks. It really ignited my love of women's wrestling. I grew up in, Bonds, SPD, we grew up in an era where women Trish Stratus is on my list as well. That era of women's wrestling, I feel like, is very different than pre and post the 4 horsewomen of NXT. So I have to give those women credit. I think all 4 women, I grew up, it really getting into the NXT movement, whether it was Ruth, I loved Rusev. SPD, you knew I loved Tyler Breeze. So there was a lot of people in that company that I really liked. So, but Sasha Banks is my first pick. And then I also really love Trish Stratus. I thought that Trish was able to transcend good, bad. She was just popular. She was just over. Everybody knew she was a star, and really carried that division in a much better way as an ambassador. SPD has taught me a lot about SPD's taught me a lot about the ambassador role. So far I got Sasha, Trish, AJ Lee is my third.
Okay.
And then because I was really into AJ Lee's work, especially towards the end of her career, I thought she did amazing work. Her character work was second to none. And then fourth, the DMD, baby. I am literally, Britt Baker is in my top 3 favorite wrestlers, period. I just am a diehard Britt Baker fan, man. I think that she's as entertaining and as bankable of a commodity in pro wrestling right now. If you put her on a segment, whether it's a wrestling match, the waiting room, she is as charismatic and as big of a star in this business. Every single week you could throw her out there and she delivers. You do not bet against the DMD. So that's my Mount Rushmore. I got a lot of love for WWE and what they've done. I really believe that Britt Baker is the face of AEW's women's division, and I think for good reason. So I'm all in on the Britt Baker. I think that this feud, it's no wonder why Thunder Rosa's broke through, and in such a short period of time for you guys in your Mount Rushmores, because I know SPD is going to have her in there.
Oh, do ya?
Yeah, I do. I have a
Oh, do
feeling.
ya?
Do ya?
So, not many carryover for me, but my Mount Rushmore consists of, I'll be first to admit I was never a huge diehard women's wrestling fan when you were
you're just that's a real big blockbuster.
when you were the diehard Sasha Banks.
Yes.
I still wasn't all for that. But that being said, that group, one of my Mount Rushmore, Charlotte Flair. I think her in-ring work is second to none. The stuff she can do is unbelievable. Obviously can throw some chops that are unbelievable, but she also is, some of the stuff she can do out impresses a lot of the men on that WWE roster. And I think her matches are always spot on and always fun to watch. So Charlotte Flair,
great
you also
athlete.
have China, a really game changer in the industry. And I'm always a huge DX fan. So I think she was great. Lita for sure was another game changer, another, innovator, against the grain of the divas, and all that, the gothic one, anyone that's paired with the Hardys, and also Thunder. So we had, to recap, we have Thunder, a nice mix, Lita, China, and Charlotte.
I would swap out AJ Lee for Bailey. I think that I'm so for me.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
I'm switching it out, bro.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
I bought you time. I didn't have a whole hour of show to get into the flow of wrestling. I gotta say, no, I've become such a Bailey fan. And without Bailey, there is no Sasha. So I had to switch that out.
Mm-hmm.
But no, dude, the four horsewomen, dude, with you mentioning Charlotte. Wow, with you mentioning Charlotte, I definitely think that there will be people who will look at that as the game changer. But it's awesome that in such a short period of time, guys, AEW has been around for 2 years basically, and in such a short period of time, they've given us, we all three of us have a favorite from this company in our Mount Rushmore. That's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, it's
awesome. I know. It is a great time to be a AEW fan, and we're gonna wrap things up because we're running a little late into the burning the midnight oil. And thank you, Crayfish. We were very happy to see your face.
I'm glad to sneak in, guys. Thanks for
without you. We're gonna bring home Friday Night Flights and Fights in a huge way next week, even bigger. We're gonna have. Are we gonna have another booking by Bonds?
Maybe, we'll see. Give me some ideas, guys.
Well, yeah. So
ideas.
Can you throw in a little TH2 for me, bud? Come on, throw in a little.
So as we're talking this through, anyone from the chat, if there is
I'm ready.
a booking by Bonds you would like to see.
Good.
So, all right. So let us know. Even throughout the week, you can send us a message on Twitter.
Yep. Same at Booking by Bonds on Twitter. If you guys want to find me on there, just definitely hit me up. We missed you earlier, Crayfish. Give him the big screen, SPD.
Yeah. You're trying.
There he is.
You wait for that all night.
Ooh, I like that. Christian booking. I like that, Brian. You do. You've got a lot of good stuff. It's hard to keep track of all of it.
Oh my gosh! All right, so that's definitely one to consider, Bonds. Not to put you on the spot, but a Christian booking would be really great as well. We saw a little taste of what we were maybe going forward, but I mean, as one of a super fan of him, it would be fun for you to go down that rabbit hole. So consider that. I would love to see that. And we can't wait. We're gonna have an absolute explosive episode of Dynamite Download on this Wednesday and we're gonna as we're in the show, I put together a little montage of past shows of us talking about how we want the Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker feud to.
Dude, this video.
So we're still working on it. I told them I'm going to try to get it done by tomorrow. Crayfish, you know what else? You know what to give me. So I'm going to play a little clip it as we ride off into the sunset. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Have a safe weekend. Happy birthday, Mrs. Crayfish. Thank you guys for joining us. And as always, you guys know where to find us online. And we appreciate you spending your Friday night with us.
You guys are awesome, man.
Here we go.
This video.
It is a feud that builds a division that we've said time and time again that if you're going to build a division, build it around these two.
But I don't know if you and I, as a team, have been as universally behind a feud or a match quite like we have been with Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. Let's dial in and focus in on the fact that we get the match of, I think, the women's division thus far in 2021. That is the feud of AEW right now. It is the hottest feud in the company.
Two of the top women in the entire world, and this is the first time that we're seeing them together.
We were hoping this was going to be the main event, which was deservedly so for these two performers with Thunder and Britt. But
I think that both of these women are going to come out looking incredible after that match. I cannot wait. As a fan of both of them, I think this is going to take their careers to another level.
Feud of AEW that you've been saying over and over again at Beach Break,
brother.
February 3rd, which could be the main event of the night. In our opinion, we believe that this could be the main event. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker.
I know we're not alone, and I'm so glad to see it out there in social media. I'm so glad to see people are pushing for this feud to get the spotlight it deserves, bro. I'm not step on either of their toes. I think that both of these women are absolutely incredible. Underdog, scrappy babyface who has the offense, the entrance, the look.
I mean, hands down, Thunder Rosa was the star of this match. She looked absolutely the best in the ring by far. Pound for pound, Thunder is the strongest women's wrestler in AEW. The way she can just wait for February 3rd at Beach Break. We've been preaching this for weeks, months and months. We have said this time and time again, every show, that this is the feud of AEW, and it should, by a landslide, be the main event of Beach Break. The first women's AEW main event. This should be Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker.
In the end, we're all remembering Britt Baker versus Thunder. SPD, you giving me chills, son. Oh my God, that is beautiful.
All right, it's almost done, everyone. Enjoy it, everyone, and that's going to be great. We're going to push in all week for leading up to next week's AEW Dynamite. Cheers, everyone.
See you next week, guys.